All right, thank you. Welcome everybody. Robert Nistico, founder, CEO of Splash Beverage Group. I was told by our AV expert that I have to stand behind the podium, which is going to be very difficult for me. I'll do my best to sit still, but I wanted to say, so anyway, thanks for joining. Splash Beverage Group. That's not working. Let's try that again. There we go. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about the organization, the structure, a little bit about distribution and our people, and then a little bit on brands, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. Those are kind of the four pillars of the table, if you will, all very, very important things. Splash, we are a public company. We've recently uplisted to NYSE American. We are a portfolio company. We're not a one-brand company. We believe that dilutes risk. It also helps us on the back end of the company. We spend a lot of time leveraging our suppliers. You know, we buy the cardboard from the same people, bottles from the same people, that sort of thing. It also allows for a stronger distribution platform as well. So we believe it's the right strategy, and it dilutes risk, as I said. Also, think of us as someone that might accelerate brands, acquire brands, take those brands eventually to exit depending on the M&A environment, creating cash events for all you folks here in the room and the rest of our shareholders. Pretty important part of our strategy. We did execute a reverse merger when we were private, temporarily on OTC, Pink, and QB, and then, like I said, recently uplisted to NYSE American. This thing is not working very well here, but let's try that again. We'll get into the brands here, but just briefly, we're in the isotonic beverage space, we're in the tequila space, the spirit space, also wine and sangrias. Like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about management team, a little bit about our history, product distribution, and the brands. As I mentioned, we are NYSE American under the symbol of SBEV. Stock price is roughly right around that 270 mark, 260 mark. Our average days trading volume, we had a few really big days in here, so this is a little bit skewed, but generally a reasonable amount of shares being traded, and market cap just shy of 100 million. With balance sheets in great shape. We're really on our way now. We powered through COVID, took the opportunity to really retool the company when that was going on. We've basically grew from very small revenue to just a little over 11 million last year, and we're not giving guidance for 2022, but you can see our trajectory there. I wouldn't expect much different. A little bit about the beverage space. Most of you probably know, but it's massive. There's room for all kinds of people in here, but we're looking at over $1 trillion. Valuations. The real cool thing about the beverage space from an investment standpoint, and frankly myself, we're all investors in the company, is you exit on top line revenue, not EBITDA, and it's a nice multiple. The good average is about somewhere between 5 and 7 times top line revenue, and that's why, unless you're George Clooney, who got 20 times top line revenue, I'm not George Clooney. But good averages are that 5 to 7 range, and you've seen these transactions. Most recent transaction, of course, was Body Armor, 3 tranches of buying bought by Coca-Cola. That totaled $8.3 billion, I believe, if I'm correct, not mistaken. Purchased by Keurig Dr. Pepper. Diageo picked up George Clooney's brand Casamigos, and there are a million examples. This happens almost every month. It's not a new idea, but our platform of brand acceleration and exit, think of it almost like a merry-go-round of cash events for our investors, and we'll obviously hold a little bit back for the next acquisition, and that's kind of the model. Like any business, people are everything. Our management team, I think, is absolutely outstanding. I'm learning to talk about myself. I really don't like doing it, but I've been in the beverage space for really actually over 28 years. Started with Gallo, Diageo, as the number 3 person at Republic National, as the 5th employee at Red Bull, and we and our team took that from 0 to 1.6 billion in annual turnover. Created a lot of really strong relationships out there, especially in the DSD beer network, which we'll talk about. So I'm all beverage. I love it. I had a little bit of private equity experience, and that's it. I'm a beverage guy. Bill Meisner, our president, absolute prince of a guy, similar career. He really developed sparkling ice, for Talking Rain, massively successful brand. He was the CEO there, or the president, I believe. He was top exec at Pepsi. He did Sobe. He did Fuse, and the turnaround job at Jones Soda when they were struggling a little bit. Aida Aragon, SVP of National Accounts, she's absolutely outstanding. She put Muscle Milk on the shelf for the Pepsi transaction. Absolute tigress, and a former fitness champion too. She's really amazing. And I leave Sanjeev Javia last because I could talk about him for an hour. He's our SVP of National Accounts, of sports and formulation. The guy's a formulation savant. He's probably a top 5 nutritionist in the country. And that's great, right? We could all go to a flavor house and build a pretty decent brand. But the reason he's here and the reason he's so important is he's written over 600 nutritional plans for Olympic and professional athletes in this country. And he has tremendous relationships with each one of them. Throughout my career, I've developed relationships with all kinds of, celebrity types, whether it's sports or entertainment. But Jeevers is really known as the expert. In fact, he lived with Tom Brady his whole undergrad period during when they were at Michigan for the first 4 years, he and Brian Griese. And that's kind of how his career got started. So of the 600, pick a number. I mean, he'll tell you all 600 will tweet and Instagram for us. Let's say it's only half. That's 300 people tweeting and Instagram on behalf of the brand like TapouT, really building trial, belief, and efficacy, and ultimately repeat purchase. Critical part of our strategy, and it's going to be. And honestly, we get that for free. We're not. These people are going to do this for Jeevers as a result of their relationships, which is really unusual. Nobody can do that. Just our small company. All right, and then. Our board. On our board is Peter McDonough. He was the number 2 guy for Diageo globally, their president, their chief innovation officer, and their chief marketing officer. The guy's incredible. What a resource for us. Between Bill and myself and Peter, if we can't figure it out, but we will. We'll definitely figure it out. Myself, CEO and founder, I'm the only nobody on the board. Justin York, really strong capital markets guys, taken, at least 25, 30 companies public. He was a wealth of information as we were going public and then uplisting. Candace Crawford, not the celebrity, beverage celebrity, joined the board recently. She is absolutely brilliant. She ran multiple acquisitions, basically lived our business strategy. She did Zika with Coca-Cola, Palm Wonderful, et cetera. She was the CEO for many companies and CFO. Made her chair of the audit committee. She's rigid and does an incredible job, and I wanted to be 120% compliant at all times so I can sleep at night and all our shareholders can sleep at night. She's amazing. And we have an open spot. Can't tell you who we're talking to, but you'll be, as investors, you'll be thrilled. We're looking at very strong M&A and capital markets person. And then on an advisory, this isn't a formal advisory board, it's a informal advisory board, I call it. These are just friends. Pete Carr is the president of Bacardi, used to be one of our VPs at Red Bull. Tremendous guy. Jack, former Nestle president, and we have a former D&T founder as well. So a tremendous resource as we're building out our small company. Distribution. One of the most important things, it's so obvious, and you'd be surprised how many people miss this. Not only do they underestimate the difficulties of it, but the importance of it. If you're not on shelf, you're not for sale. I don't know if any of you have been following us, but over the last 6 months, we've put out press release after press release by adding distributors, DSD distributors, whether it's InBev, in some cases independent, in some cases Miller Coors distributors. But having the ability to put product on shelf is absolutely critical. You could have the best liquid, the best people, the best package. If you can't find it, it's useless. So we've been focusing for the last couple of years on really setting up distribution. Again, not sure if you've been following us or not, but when we'll talk about acquisition at the end, but when we acquired COPA di VINO, it came with 82 bud distributors. And the light bulb went on immediately because we thought, okay, that'll get us to St. Louis and it'll get us to Belgium with InBev. And fast forward 12 months later, here we are. We have a formal arrangement with InBev AB1, and we're executing on that every day. We really started that hard in about the middle of January, especially with TapouT. We'll get into that in a sec, but distribution is everything. And if for some reason some retailer says, you know what, well, we'd really rather go through KeHE or UNFI or some broadliner, guess what? You know, not our first rodeo, so we've got vendor numbers with each one of those groups. So if somebody says that to us, in fact, that's actually going on right now, can't say what it is, then we can jump to one of the broadliners. We prefer to stay in the beer DSD network, but if we can't, we can't. And then, of course, there's direct-to-warehouse as well. But this is why we're set up for success. We have a plug-and-play scenario with InBev. Every time we exit a brand or something we want to acquire, we have the ability to plug it into that system. It's an incredible luxury that many companies don't have, especially younger companies like Qplash. That's it there, and then I'm not going to bore you with this detail. It's kind of an eye chart anyway, but we're building out distribution as fast as we can. We got a little bit of a head start with COPA di VINO and Salt Tequila, and now we're really focusing on TapouT as of really about the middle of February. And we also have our own B2B and B2C distribution platform called Qplash. The reason, I'm not going to read bullet points to you folks, but the reason this is in place is, again, to take us back to the distribution model and make us vertical. I don't know any company our size that has this, and we put it in play primarily for beverage alcohol. The rules are changing. The world is changing, and every time a state line falls, we're putting ourselves in position. This is not a drizzly model. This is a straight-up distribution model to cross state lines with beverage alcohol. And so right now, we're selling non-alcoholic beverages and some other items, B2B and B2C, getting it organized, setting up the warehouses, the pick and pack warehouses across the country. And now that you can do beverage alcohol between New Jersey and California, it's already starting to happen. I'm sure you guys have been paying attention to the news. So we're positioned ourselves here, and it's incredibly important for us down the line, not this year, but for margin enhancement. And also for incubation. The big distributors, Republic National, Southern Glaciers, I mean, they're amazing. I mean, they're massive organizations. I was the number 3 guy at Republic National. It took me 6 months to get my own tequila in there. So nobody cares about incubation and innovation in these big companies. I don't blame them. They've got light bills to pay. So this is an opportunity for us to do that very thing. And also tremendous margin enhancement. All right, a little bit about the brands themselves. Salt Tequila. Really the only thing you need to know about this is think about what flavors have done for rum back in the day, and then vodka, and even today of brown goods. We're running downhill with the wind at our backs in this category. There are 3 key drivers in the beverage and the spirit space today. One is the tequila category itself. It's actually driving the entire category and expected to grow for the next decade, maybe 2 decades. As it fractionalizes. It's a very interesting opportunity down the line for tequila for many years. Also, of course, flavors. Flavors are still driving spirits. And then quality. Consumers today, especially millennial consumers, are looking for single barrel bourbons, single malt scotches, 100% agave tequilas. Well, our tequila is 100% agave and also happens to be 80 proof, even though we introduced a flavor to it. That's a very difficult thing to do. It's a proprietary process that we have down in Jalisco, but it allowed us to keep the proof at 80, which also allowed us to keep our 100% Mexican Jalisco tequila designation, which also says more about quality for this particular brand. The extracts are sugar-free and phenomenal. It's the essence of flavors. We have a berry, a chocolate, and a citrus. They're amazing. Just a quick story. In Dallas, we have a high-end Mexico City Mexican restaurant. They're building the chocolate into a Mexican tiramisu. They put little chocolate shavings on the side. It's amazing. It's a white tablecloth application. Then you go down the street 6 miles and you go to a bar called Country 2000, and it's a Mexican cowboy bar. No one speaks English. The guys are shooting the citrus and buying a chocolate for their female companion. So it's a very versatile brand. I already talked about this. This is what's driving tequila. Like I said, it's flavors, it's quality, excuse me, in the tequila category itself. And we're having a great time with this brand, a little bit of execution out in the marketplace. It's a fun brand to operate. We also, this is important too, a lot of spirits companies tend to ignore half the population in the globe, which is female. So this brand, we intentionally made it gender neutral, and we speak to the female consumer just like we speak to the male consumer. Very important distinction, I should say, between us. Our next brand is TapouT. Those of you who may or may not remember, TapouT was associated with the UFC for many years. Whether you watched MMA, cage fighting or not, doesn't matter. It's years and years of aided and unaided awareness on the brand name. That's so very important. So when we go and we put this product on shelf, and a consumer walks by that shelf in a regional or a national retailer, they see this and they go, okay, that looks kind of familiar, and it's automatically credible because it's on the shelf at a Walmart or a Publix or a Winn-Dixie. Really important. Two of our core values, and I'll end with that, but two of our core values is pre-existing brand awareness. Nobody wants to build, Matt and Robert's juice over here, at the tune of 25 to 35 million extra dollars to do so. Pre-existing brand awareness helps you break through that clutter, or pure innovation in the case of our tequila. But TapouT, alive and well. We also rebranded this with the IP owner. We own all things consumable for TapouT, beverage and powders and whatever. The equipment and T-shirt folks, we all got together and we softened the branding of this thing. I'll be honest, it wasn't my brand image, 10 years ago. I wouldn't have worn it. It was blood sport, and frankly, it hurt us in the chains. We softened the branding. We've represented the brand. We're building a lifestyle brand, which is really, really a great opportunity to support long-term, credible, repeat purchase. Very, very, very important. So again, making it gender neutral. In fact, our clothing partner, he's selling more yoga clothing right now, outselling, I believe, Lululemon. It's Kate Hudson stuff, catching up to Lululemon. Really, really great quality yoga clothing for female consumers. It's a better mousetrap, we like to say. All 5 electrolytes, all natural, and so many nutrients in this thing. It took us 4 months in the flavor house to mask all those nutrients, so it still tastes really good. And the fact that we're the only real all-natural product in of the big 4, including ourselves there, being Gatorade, Powerade, and Body Armor, we can play in the natural food channel as well. And we are looking at line extensions here. We will have, I've said this publicly before, so this is not any news. We will have a TapouT Elite that will live in the fitness and nutrition channel here in the near future, just to really support a vertical approach to the brand. No artificial ingredients whatsoever. This product is on shelf and selling primarily throughout the Southeast and the Southwest right now. All the announcements we've made with all our distribution announcements have been primarily for all brands, but TapouT focused. We're on the shelf at Walmart, and the product's flying. I'll give you some numbers here in a sec. The white space for the isotonic category was wide open. You had Gatorade, which is an amazing brand, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with Gatorade except the ingredients. It's not necessarily balanced properly, I'll say. Body Armor came very close. Powerade's about the same as Gatorade. So in the strong heritage portion of the chart, which is TapouT, it's been around for 24 years with literally billions of impressions. That's us, but also in the premium segment. We are priced premium. Gatorade is a 99-cent product. We'll be somewhere around $1.49 to $1.79. The retailer wants that trade up. It also makes it aspirational for the consumer. I did the same thing when I was running Red Bull. We never dropped price. We wanted people to pay a little bit more for it because the American consumer thinks the more you pay, the better it is, and in this case, it actually is. Better mousetrap, all five electrolytes, all natural. It's a phenomenal product. Some of our execution, I think most of this is Walmart. We're putting brand on shelf and it's selling. And again, this is not forward-looking. This is just an anecdotal piece of information we got a couple days ago. Here on the west coast of Florida, we were up over 42% of same-store sales the 2 weeks prior. It's really catching on. I'm very excited about the product. COPA di VINO was our very first acquisition. We call it the Shark Tank brand because the founder went on Shark Tank and twice and didn't take money. So they play those episodes, I think, about 50 times each a year, which is awesome because it's a free marketing platform for us. But he was really a forefront, the head of the entire single-serve wine category that's just exploded lately. And it's actually high-quality wine. It's Columbia Valley wine. James Martin, the founder, actually works for us now as part of the acquisition. He's a tremendous winemaker. It's a great product, 7 flavors. Really lovely stuff. Selling like crazy. We've more than quadrupled the business in 1 year. There was nothing wrong with it when we acquired it. It was just capital starved. And it came with this little brand. I'm going to skip ahead here. This little brand came with it. It was an import called Popo Loco. A gentleman out of Madrid along with his wife. It's his wife's family recipe. Great little sangria. I love it. But what we didn't realize in the middle of the acquisition, and by the way, my mom, I refer to my mom all the time. She used to say things like, better be lucky than good. This was one of those, I always used to say, I want to be both. But I said to her I would say to her in this case, we were just lucky because it came with the exclusive rights to Cardican. So we are the only company in the United States that has the rights to the first 8-layered, not just recyclable, but biodegradable paper can. This is very important. It's a sustainability story, but it also impacts the cost of goods, our COGS. This thing right now, even though we're landing, it's landing right now, just the can, at 8 cents. And where our plan is to start manufacturing that can here, fill our products with it, and then sell that excess capacity. Now, as investors, I'm not going to sell it at 4 cents or 8 cents. We're going to sell it just back of aluminum and then build the sustainability story. Walmart's even asked us for an exclusive on it for 18 months on some of their private label already. We gracefully said not yet. But this is going to be a neat bifurcated business, side business for us. And we're partnering with a large packaging firm because that's not what we do. We're beverage people. So our first acquisition, and I'm done, and then we'll be ready for Q&A. We bought Copa di VINO. There are a lot of brands out there. There's a conveyor belt of brands out there looking to be acquired. We've turned down a lot of them, almost all of them. And there has to be some intrinsic value that makes sense. In this case, it came with, if I said earlier, 82 bud distributors, which got us all the way to InBev in Belgium, and now we have a formal relationship with one of the largest strategics out there. Very important plug-and-play scenario for us for other brands. Wherever people are struggling for distribution, we're not. We're very fortunate. And it also came with this Popo Loco, with that can technology I just referred to. And then finally, the technology for the packaging, which we're going to reuse in some of our future brands for the wine itself. So all these things made a ton of sense for us to buy this brand. And that's really, when we look at acquisition, what we're talking about. The route to market and having the innovation and or the strong distribution piece behind it already saves time, saves investment dollars. And that's basically it. Questions, and I have answers, hopefully. If I don't, I'll say I don't know, and I'll get back to you. Anything? Wow, depends on my mood. On a Saturday night, I like to sip on salt, citrus, tequila in a lowball glass with 1 ice cube. It's lovely. It's really nice. But I'm also a workout hound, and so I used TapouT feverishly. And I'm also a boater, so having Copa di VINO and Popo Loco on the boat, it's not breakable, it's biodegradable, it's fantastic. So they all have applications. Did you say, is that a paper product? Yes, sir. It's good for 13 months. I saw more hands a second ago. Where'd they all go? Yes, sir. What's our growth rate? Well, we grew from about 400% last year, from 21 to 20, from 20 to 21. We're not giving forward-looking advice, certainly not in this meeting, but I would suggest to you, as we're building out distribution, I can't imagine it being much different. That's as carefully as I can answer that question. Does everything fall under Splash? Yes, sir. Splash is the parent, and each brand is bifurcated as a wholly owned subsidiary of that parent. Yes, sir. Yeah, great question. Organic legacy brand growth is critical, always very important, because it sets up the distribution platform. But we're very keen on acquisition. That's why I talked about acquisition with regarding the COPA di VINO strategy, right? So we are evaluating more than 4 targets right now. They're just targets. You'll hear more about that hopefully in the future. I think we're done.